I'm Jen Schrader, and this is Behind the Springs, conversations with the people working for you in Colorado Springs, Olympic City, USA. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Springs. I'm really excited about this episode today, and I'm so grateful that you're joining us for this conversation. So we're going to talk about a life-saving new program brought to you by the Colorado Springs Fire Department. And a lot of you know that when you call 911, our first responders want to provide the best, most efficient care possible. So this new program has that mission in mind. It's really designed to improve everything all around, and we're going to talk about kind of how it does that. So I'm excited to welcome Lieutenant Erin McConaughey. Thank you for being here. And then also Chelsea Tuff, and she is a Colorado Springs resident who has a little bit of a story to tell when it comes to this program. So these two both know from personal experience more about this program, so they're going to tell us a little bit about that. And I just really appreciate you both giving us the time to tell people about this and your own, and to share your own story.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, we're happy to be here.
So thanks for being here. So let's start first about this whole blood program. Some people may have heard about it. I know it made some headlines when you guys launched it, but it's still fairly new. Tell us what it involves and even how the idea even came about.
You bet. So we started the program in May of 2024. After about a year and a half is what it took between, the leadership within the Colorado Springs Fire Department, between our physician advisors that work for the fire department, their team, our medical division, UC Health, UC's foundation, the blood bank, and a whole lot of behind the scenes people and a lot of philanthropists is what it really took to launch this entire program. So that took about a year and a half before we actually went live. And, once we went live, we were kind of like immediately, all of the statistics that they put together were right on track as far as how busy they thought that we were going to end up being with this program. And it has been very busy and very successful in the last 6 months.
And so for people who don't know, tell us what it involves. You're basically carrying whole blood on every
Correct. So we're carrying whole blood on 2 units in the city.
Okay.
So there's 1 unit up north and there's 1 unit that's down south, and they're on duty 24/7, 365. And so either one of those units, depending on whether they hear the call, get dispatched, and it's something that they have a pretty high index of suspicion that may be a call for somebody who may possibly need blood, they will either self-dispatch themselves to the call, or they'll wait for the fire company that's responding to that call. They'll be reading through the call notes, and they'll make the request for a blood response is what they will say.
Okay.
And then dispatch will dispatch either one of the units, whichever one of us is closer.
And what does it involve actually bringing that blood on board, so to speak?
So the blood itself, it's whole blood. It's a O positive, so it's a universal donor blood. And basically what whole blood is, it's our blood. It's all the components. It's everything that we would normally have. That's not spun off into different components. So
what you would donate.
It's exactly what you would donate, correct. And then we've got a warmer, because we got to keep the blood at a very cold temperature. We keep it just above freezing.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, we keep it at about 36 degrees.
Okay.
Is what we're keeping it at. And then
Is it almost like
it's in a cooler.
Okay.
But it's in a...
It's wild.
For lack of a better term.
It's a very high dollar expensive cooler.
Right.
Wow.
But yes, it is not a refrigerator. It is literally a cooler that'll hold the temperature for 48 hours.
Okay.
While it's in either one of our vehicles. And then we've got a warming unit. That's probably one of the more expensive parts of it, that will actually bring the blood up to about 100 degrees in 6 seconds.
Wow.
So it happens very quickly. And then just a couple other accessory things that we end up needing. And then we're also carrying an ultrasound unit with us as well to assist us on these calls.
Okay, so the program starts 6 months ago. And then when tell us about your experience, Chelsea, and when that happened.
Yeah, so it was about, I guess when you have a baby, it all goes really quick.
Yes, this has to do with having a baby, we should say.
Yes. 3 months ago is when I had Rosie. And so I was 39 weeks to the day pregnant, and that's when I had suspicion that I was going into labor, very fast coming contractions that weren't intense, which kind of gives a sign that something was wrong.
Are you at home at this point?
Yes,
okay.
I was at home. Yep, I was at home. I had actually just seen the midwife earlier, a couple hours before, we had to call 911. But what happened basically was that I started having contractions. They were coming closer together, but not intense, which put myself and my midwife kind of on alert, like, something's going on. And then the next thing I knew, I stood up, felt a pop, and like an internal pop inside. And I thought, oh, that's my water. All right, things are going.
So
And
your
I
plan was
went-
to have a home birth, or was it to go to the hospital?
It was to have a home birth.
Home birth. Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't
okay.
even get to the point
But you weren't even where you were going to make
Yeah.
that decision. Yes.
Yeah, it was just still so early in our labor. We didn't even know, like, I think I'm in labor,
Right.
And went to the bathroom and came out of the bathroom and just started gushing blood and realized, I called my midwife, texted her, and that's when she very sweetly and kindly was like, hey, honey, you need to call 911.
Right.
And so that's when Corey came in the room, my partner, and I said, babe, you got to call 911. And he got out immediately and called 911. And gosh, I think it was 5 minutes. I think it was 5 to 7 minutes that we got that response. And let's see. So
I was going to say, do you even
it all
remember
happened-
after that?
Yeah, it happened so fast.
Right.
I just remember there's a lot of blood, being really nervous, really scared, and a bunch of people came into the room and helped carry us out. I was able to walk out to the stretcher that was outside. We got in the ambulance, and I remember you guys talking about, like, hey, should we wait for the blood? Is the blood here? And you guys said, nope, it's here. It's in the ambulance. And then receiving the blood from you.
Oh, so
in
it
the
was you.
ambulance.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
Which was like emotional to come back again, just like, oh my gosh, so thankful
Right.
for him.
Some people never get to see that person
Yeah,
again. That helps
that was-
them. Yeah.
Such an emotional time to meet everybody, and just during that scary situation, because in my head I'm like, I hope she's okay. I hope everybody's okay. My kids were in the house, making sure that they were safe, and then just I hope my baby's okay.
So chaotic.
Yeah, so chaotic, but everybody
But you
around
yourself
me,
were aware of what was happening the whole time.
yeah, yep, but not fully, honestly, I think, which was kind of a blessing. I didn't realize that. So it was a placental abruption is what happened.
Okay.
And I didn't know that's what was going on. I just knew I was bleeding, and I needed to try to stay calm for my sake and the baby. And I got blood in the ambulance, and I remember getting to the hospital, and it took, an hour maybe from start to finish that we got the C-section, from calling 911 to getting the emergency C-section.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't
and
it?
It's
Yeah.
just so grateful just for the incredibly fast response time that we were able to get blood in the ambulance. I remember just like not having any idea really the weight of everything that happened. And
Until
our first
after.
thoughts just like, man, how lucky were we that we got that blood in the ambulance. I really think that made a huge difference. And then getting all the notes and talking to doctors, realizing just the impact of
And I
having
mean,
that blood.
did it?
It did.
It did, right?
Yeah.
Medically speaking,
Yeah.
it wasn't just convenient to have it there.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely had an impact. By the time the Engine 11 had called for me, I had a pretty short response time over to that side of town, and they were just wheeling Chelsea into the back of the ambulance. So the one fire paramedic was just passing off the information to me on what was going on. I'm like, well, she's definitely a candidate. She meets all of our parameters, all of our guidelines. I'm like, let me jump in the back real quick, kind of do another quick assessment. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this right now. So then we started the blood administration. We had a very short conversation with Chelsea to make sure, because we're not going to force it. And we wanted
Right,
to
yeah.
ask her,
remember that.
are you okay if we do this? And she said, yes. There was no
Do
hesitation.
whatever you have to
Yeah,
do, right?
That was my thought. Just
Yeah.
like whatever we need to do.
She was
Yeah.
appropriately upset for the situation. I mean, it was
Right.
her,
Very scary.
Yeah, her
scary,
action. She
yeah.
was scared, but she was very appropriate. And
Yeah.
I think what made our job easier was just being able to have a conversation with her, because she was
Yeah.
not hysterical. She was scared, but it just made our jobs a lot easier. So yeah, we start an infusion, get the blood and everything going on board, and bypass the emergency room, and we just go right up to labor and delivery.
And I mean, you're just saving so much time,
Yes.
right? And
So much
that's
time.
the whole point of this program, is instead of
Yeah.
that entire ambulance ride and then getting into the hospital, I mean, that takes time, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time is of the essence, especially with the blood. That's one thing that obviously a pregnant mother is not going to deal well, and for her baby, with the amount of
Right.
blood that she had lost. So it's imperative that we get blood on board and as quickly as possible to get her back where she needs to be.
So it wasn't until after that you really realized everything that had happened and
yeah. I think it was
how life-saving it was.
You know, once you finally catch your breath during all of that, like having a baby in
Right.
your arms, and then also like what just happened, trying to process all that. The first thought we thought was, oh my goodness, I'm so glad we were able to take the ambulance and have that blood. And we didn't know that it wasn't routine. We just thought this was
You
something
didn't
that
know-
always happened.
you
We
didn't know it was
a
brand
special,
new.
yeah, a special or brand new program, because it just makes sense to us. Like
Which-
this should be available for
Yes,
everybody, and
that-
how lucky we are
Yeah.
to be in Colorado Springs.
That's my next
You know?
question / statement is just why isn't everyone doing this? And I guess maybe you already answered that, Lieutenant, by saying like, you know, it takes time, right? It takes some funding and some organization, and you have a partnership with UC Health. Is that correct?
Correct, with their foundation.
With their foundation.
Correct.
So that may look different in different communities, but I assume that other cities are hopefully taking note.
I believe so. I mean, we're definitely getting contacted. We are not the first in the country to do it. We're the first in the state.
Okay.
We're definitely, I would say, an early adopter. But San Antonio Fire has been doing this since 2018. So there is a very big logistical piece in making this happen. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen with the state in order to obtain waivers for this. It is very expensive. And that is the reason why the UC Health Foundation reached out to a large group of philanthropists, and they all contributed to that. One of them I feel really fortunate with, that I've been able to establish a relationship with and kind of give him little bits of information, what I'm allowed to, and he's really, really happy that he's made a difference in people's lives. And I shared
Chelsea's
this story
story,
with him,
yeah.
and he's just, I mean, he's incredibly happy and proud that he was able to be in a position to donate for that.
It's a wonderful place to put your money.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's less than 2% of fire departments, EMS, and helicopter agencies across the entire country are doing whole blood in the United States.
You were in the right place.
Wow.
Chelsea,
Yes.
right? I mean, I
Yeah.
feel that way as a resident too. I feel grateful that we have this here. But yes, you're just noting some obstacles and
Yes.
challenges that fire departments would have to overcome. But in the end, I would imagine, you know, the outcomes, I mean, you're saying already you can see the success.
Very much
It's
so.
it's so worthwhile is my point.
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of success. We're keeping a lot of statistics in a lot of different areas that are being calculated between all of our reports and the hospital's reports, and it's been really impressive to see the numbers.
That's really nice. Yes. That's
It's crazy
wonderful.
to see all the behind the scenes that I just didn't realize how much goes into it. I think that's what made it so emotional that day, that I got to see everybody and meet, you know, all the donors and all UC Health. It's just like, gosh, I couldn't be more
Yes,
grateful.
afterward you got to come
Yeah.
together with everybody
Come
and say,
together and
yeah.
to see that, just so grateful and
Yeah.
emotional to
You're
see.
like,
all
I
goes
didn't
into
know
it.
all this was happening. I just
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
calling 911,
Yeah.
which is what people just are in their time of need.
Yep.
So at this point, another, you know, I'm one of those people that donates blood and then says, I'll donate again sometime. And I'm not on a good track. And so this is a good reminder for people who are able to donate blood to do that. Because here's another great use
Absolutely.
for that donation. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like you're also grateful to.
Yeah, even my friends,
Whoever
who,
donated.
right, they're like, "Where can we donate blood?" You know, just
Right
after
after
hearing
they
my
heard-
story,
yes.
knowing like, "Oh, Rosie's
I just
okay."
donated for the first time ever.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, just about 6, maybe 8 weeks ago, the fire department held their first
Oh, that's
sponsored
right.
blood drive, and I was like, I can't be one of these paramedics that's administering this in the field and not
donating.
and not donate. So it was really great to be able to do that, and I think we're going to start doing once a quarter now. The fire department's going to be sponsoring blood drives.
Great. And I think you brought up a good point. It really is just about convenience.
It is.
For people. And if it's, you know, just finding a location that's near you or even finding a place that will remind you, send you reminders or whatever,
Yeah.
because life gets busy to make another appointment, it is at least something you can do and feel like you're contributing part of the solution. But I do want to ask you, the situation like Chelsea's, is that a good example of what this will be used for? I would imagine traffic accidents. I mean, really kind of limitless possibilities, or what type of situations
bet.
are you usually called on?
Yeah, so anything where we have a high index of suspicion that somebody's hemorrhagic shock. So it's the leading cause of death for anybody under the age of 46 within the United States is for somebody to bleed to death. And actually within the city of Colorado Springs, after they ran all of our numbers between the hospitals and all of our reports, every 48 hours in the city of Colorado Springs, somebody dies from bleeding to death. So
Wow, that's staggering to me.
yeah.
we were shocked when
Yeah.
our physician advisors actually presented those numbers to us. We couldn't believe it because they told us, they said, you guys are going to be busy. We're anticipating about every 3 days you're going to be, on average, you guys are going to be administering blood, and their numbers they've been spot
Right
on
on.
with that.
Oh my goodness.
crazy.
Yeah.
What a better reason to go donate blood, even.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
So-
knowing that.
So you're right. The calls are obviously there's a good chunk of those that are into traumatic calls, whether it's traffic accidents, falls, violent injuries, construction accidents, just kind of any of those types of things. But there's a good percentage that are medical, dealing with, labor and delivery type issues, GI bleeds, varicose bleeds, people post-surgery that all of a sudden,
Start
they have
bleeding.
a problem
Okay.
post-surgery. So we have I think we're a little bit heavier on the traumatic side, but our numbers, I believe we're right around 40% of those that are medical in nature. So there's a good chunk of them that are out there.
How many people or firefighters do you have that are doing this, that are administering the blood, or is it just whoever is on shift at that particular?
There are 6 of us.
Okay.
So 2 of us are on duty every day. Like I said, 1 on the north end, 1 on the south end. So there's 2 on duty every single day that are out there doing that, and we're a single response unit. So we're not on a fire truck or on a fire engine. We're in, in an SUV
We're in a
or in a
vehicle.
pickup truck.
Okay, got
Correct.
it.
So we are.
You're showing up in addition
Yep.
to the emergency personnel. Like they showed up first, correct, Chelsea? And then
Yeah, actually, I remember that there was 2 vehicles. There was the fire truck and the ambulance, and then the SUV, like the fire SUV.
Got
and I
it.
was like, oh, I think that was where the blood came from.
Right.
And sure
Yeah.
enough,
Okay.
A lot smaller, a lot more nimble. We can kind of
Yeah.
maneuver and get to a scene quicker than a big fire engine can. So that
Yeah.
works out well.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
you feel good about it so far? So far, so good.
Yeah, it has been incredible. I can tell you this has been 31 years with Colorado Springs Fire Department and a paramedic since 1997, and got to see and witness lots of things throughout my career. This is probably hands down one of the best things that we've ever got to do since I've been on the department.
Yeah, it just feels so gratifying, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you get to meet somebody or get to see them after the emergency.
Yeah.
Is that always kind of, that doesn't get to happen very often.
It's rare.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, most of the time, when we're riding in the ambulance and we're with the patient at that point, we get them into, the recess room, into the emergency department.
That's it.
We share all the information with the emergency room, and then we're out, and now they take over and do what they need to do from there. And it's extremely rare. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, I haven't seen somebody in, I bet you, over 15 years for a follow-up. I'm trying to even think of one.
crazy.
I know I've had some early on in my career, but it's been a very long time since we've seen a follow-up with somebody.
Well, even if they don't get to meet you, they remember you. I know
Yeah,
they remember
that's
you.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
That's why it felt like such a treat just to get to see you all and give you guys hugs, and for you guys to see Rosie, and
Yes,
to
and
know
we'll-
that we're all okay. And
We'll put a photo of Rosie up on our website so that if people want to go see it, they
Yeah.
can see it. You can go to coloradosprings.gov/podcast and get a peek at Rosie.
Yeah.
And just thank you both for being here. Thank you for all you're doing and
Yeah.
your team.
Yeah, thank you to them.
All our first responders.
Yeah,
and we're just happy it
absolutely.
was such a good outcome.
Absolutely.
But this increases those positive outcomes.
It does.
Hands down, we already are seeing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We've had very, very good success with many people so far.
Okay,
So
that's
we're
awesome.
very excited.
Yeah, we feel very blessed and lucky that we were one of the benefactors.
And Rosie's
the
doing
early
great.
She's doing
Rosie
great.
and Mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're both doing awesome. Great. Yeah.
Oh.
We had great recovery in the hospital right away, and she's growing like a champ. So
That's awesome.
yeah, everything's great.
Well, thank you both for being here. I highly recommend people to check out more about the program. You can follow Colorado Springs Fire Department, CSFDPIO, on social media. Great stories on there and just great information in general about all the great things that our fire department's doing. So thanks for listening. Thank you both for being here, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Springs.